4 home runs, 16 batted in to go along with 18 doubles. And Arroyo delivers strike 1. This game is underway. The Reds swept the Arizona Diamondbacks in the desert back in the month of May. There's a 2-hopper that Phillips will back up on. 1 away. Take a look at the Reds defensively, presented by Ford. Lance Nix, Willie Taveras, Jay Bruce, left, center, and right. Hairston, Yadish, Phillips, and Votto third to first, and Ramon Hernandez hanging the signs for Bronson Arroyo. Of course, when the Reds went to Arizona and ripped off that 3-game series sweep, it sent them to 6 games over 500. One of the guys they beat in that series was Dan Herring. That was in the 2nd game.
And that was a tremendous pitching duel between Dan Herring, the #1 pitcher on the Diamondback staff, and the #5 guy, Micah Owings.
Slow roll to short, backhanded by Yadish. Nice play to get through.
Good sign so far. 2 batters and 2 ground balls from Bronson Arroyo, using that sinking fastball to his advantage.
Well, Yadish is a silky smooth defender there at short, isn't he?
He really is, you know, and I think he's going to get a lot of playing time because obviously Alex Gonzalez is out until further notice, and the Reds really don't have anybody that can play the kind of defense Yadish can, either in the dugout or in the minor leagues. The question is, will he hit enough? And I think in the meantime, what you'll see is on certain nights, certain types of pitchers, you'll see Jerry Harrison move to third and Yadish get a break.
2 down for Justin Upton. He has had by far the best offensive year, and I'm talking about start to finish and in every category. You've got Mark Reynolds on deck, who has more home runs and more RBIs. But Upton at .318, 14 homers, 45 driven in, and 1 double shy of 20 of those. Of course, Upton, a #1 pick by the Arizona Diamondbacks. His older brother, B.J. Upton, a #1 pick, an everyday player for the Tampa Bay Rays. 2 balls and a strike. Upton only 21 years old. Saw the major improvement from a year ago. He battled a lot of injuries last year. This guy was playing in the big leagues when he was 19.
You know, that's really what you try to get when you have a #1 draft pick, especially one who is taken among the first 1 or 2 in the whole draft. You know, a guy that is going to be major league ready as quickly as possible, even if it means rushing him a little bit. Because if you can get a guy up there, Ken Griffey Jr., great example, made the major leagues at 19. There aren't too many of those guys around, don't get me wrong, but still, if you can get him up there and get him to adjust, boy, he is going to have some kind of peak years with that ball club. You suppress that until he's 23 or 24 or 25 in the big leagues, you really limit the amount of great years a young man will have.
Off the end of the bat, a fly ball into center field in a 1-2-3 opening frame for Bronson Arroyo. Starting lineup tonight as Willie Taveras leading off and playing center field. Jerry Hairston Jr. will play at third with Joey Votto at first base. Brandon Phillips, a cleanup hitter. He homered off Dan Heron in the victory over the Diamondbacks back in the desert in May. Lance Nixon left field. Ramon Hernandez behind the plate with a latter third of Jay Bruce, Paul Yanish, and Bronson Arroyo. Dan Heron, the best ERA in the National League at 2.25.
Well, you look up and down Dan Heron's game appearances day by day here in 2009, and you see under the innings pitch column 7, 9, 7, 7, 8. This guy just goes deep into a ball game every time, and he doesn't give up any runs. He gives up 1 or 2 runs a ball game, obviously, with an earned run average like that. But the reason he's able to do that is because look at the innings pitch and the strikeouts and the walks. He doesn't walk anybody. He's a tremendous strike thrower. That's one reason why he is deep in a ball game. When you look up, the starting pitcher's still there.
Strike one to Willie Taveras, a .237 batter with a home run and 11 batted in. Willie 7 hits and 18 at bats on the road trip. Well, the Reds are hoping that's a foreshadowing of things to come. This a tapper to the shortstop Drew, 1 away. Arizona on defense presented by Ford, and this is the worst defensive team in the National League. Parra, Chris Young, Justin Upton in the outfield. Reynolds and the veteran Tony Clark on the corner. Stephen Drew and Lopez up the middle. Dan Heron and Miguel Montero the batter. Arizona's last game on Sunday, their 5th straight loss. It came against the Angels. Committed 3 errors in the 5th inning, which led to 5 unearned runs. And by all accounts, everyone who saw that game said it was one of the worst displays of baseball in recent memory by one team on defense. Mark Reynolds was playing first base. A routine throw across the diamond. He dropped it. Routine fly ball into right. Justin Upton dropped it. Routine ground ball right through the legs of Felipe Lopez. In fact, coming into the game, Arizona fresh off a 5-game stretch in which it committed 11 errors. 11. One and 2 on Jerry Hairston Jr. 7 home runs, 22 knocked in, and he wants timeout. Now, Darren Heron has started to get very frustrated with his fate with this ball club so far this year. He's not calling guys out, but he had back-to-back games where he left with a 6-run lead and left with a 5-run lead at the end of 7 innings. And the bullpen lost both games. Went 7 innings, allowed 2 hits and a run against the Dodgers. Left with a 5-1 lead. They lost 6-5. He had a 6-1 lead the next outing at San Diego, and the bullpen lost that lead.
Well, he's been fairly diplomatic in the papers about it, and he said all the right things, meaning all I do is concentrate on giving my team the best chance to win. If I have a second half where I get 18 to 20 starts to match the 15 starts I've had so far, at the end of the year I'll be happy. But you know, deep inside, you want wins.
Payoff pitch. Grounded foul. Good at bat here by Hairston after falling behind 1 and 2.
Well, he fell behind, and then Dan Heron did what he likes to do when he's ahead, which is throw that splitter. He's one of these pitchers that he loads that splitter up on the outside of his grip. Here's the grip as it comes out of his hand right there. You can see it. We showed you that in slow motion the other night when Homer Bailey threw it. It's a good pitch, and he's got the arm speed, obviously, to make it nasty, and there it is again.
For a strikeout for Heron, 2 away in the first. Well, of course, tonight the first game back on the home front for Joey Votto after being activated from the disabled list on the last road trip in his hometown, Toronto. Breaking ball, strike 1. That's where Herron and his artillery will certainly keep you guessing. First pitch breaking ball, second pitch fastball. Now you got to believe you'll see the splitter. Back-to-back fastballs, 1 and 2 to bottom.
You know, Tom, what separates Dan Herron from so many other pitchers and makes him so difficult, he's got all 3 of those pitches that he is never afraid to throw a strike with him. So many guys have a good fastball they can throw for a strike, but they really can't get their breaking ball over consistently.
On the ground to Lopez, he gobbles it up, and Herron matches Arroyo with a perfect first inning. End of 1 in Cincinnati. We're scoreless. Lawyers for serious injuries. Johnny Gomes during interleague play just knocked the cover off the ball. In fact, you go back his last 17 games, and he's been a .367 batter, but with a right-hander on the mound, back to playing National League Baseball with no DH. All of that has earned Johnny Gomes a trip back to the bench. Fly ball off the bat of Mark Reynolds into right field will back up Bruce, 1 away. That's where the game of baseball has become so matchup oriented, and so many managers like you to play the lefty against a right-hander on the mound. But a guy like Gomes right now, Chris, the Reds are going to miss his bat when he's not in there, at least the way he's going right now.
You know, Tom, do managers do that to protect themselves from second guessers?
Or are they protecting the player? I don't know.
I mean, protecting the player. Let's take the case of Johnny Gomes. Protect the player meaning protecting him from playing defense, or
from facing a real good right-handed pitcher. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, the one thing I always wanted to know as a starting pitcher, I wanted to know, obviously, you know, who's the first pitch fastball hitter, but I also wanted to know which guys on that team are hot. Because those are the guys that you really have to concentrate on, because they're going to figure out a way. They're seeing the ball well. They're getting good breaks. Those are the guys that can hurt you the most.
Arroyo thought he had Parra struck out right there, and it's a little bit low.
There's no doubt that the configuration the Reds have in the outfield right now, better defensively with Lance Nix out there left than with Johnny Gomes.
Parra playing in his 40th game. .259 batter, 3 home runs, 23 runs batted in. We remember when he was called to the big leagues from AA Mobile back on May the 13th. Made his major league debut that night against the Reds and homered in his very first major league at bat. Still 3-2. He hit that home run against the Reds' ace, Johnny Cueto. Cueto did not allow another run in that game until the 6th inning in a 10-3 rout. 8th pitch in this at bat, and it's a roller to the left side. Hairston is there. Good play by Jerry Hairston Jr. 2 gone.
Now the rule of thumb is anything the third baseman can get, you go ahead and take. Usually the shortstop is the captain of the infield, but that only applies to fly balls. On ground balls, because the third baseman's momentum is heading over towards the right side of the infield, you field it, you throw it on the run, and you get your man.
Five up, 5 down for Bronson Arroyo, and here's the center fielder Chris Young, hitting .199. 6 home runs and 18 runs batted in. Young just turned 25 years old. Breaking ball misses inside. He came up 3 years ago, the tail end of '06, and was a regular in '07. He only hit .237, but he hit 32 home runs. Last year, batting average just under 50. .250. He had 42 doubles, 22 home runs, and knocked in 85 runs. But this year has just never gotten going. And there's a 4-pitch walk to a guy hitting .199.
You're still concerned about him because of his home run power, Tom. But the question I have for you is Chris Young a right-handed version of Jay Bruce? Because they both have tremendous power. Their batting averages are off. They've had a hard time adjusting to certain pitchers and pitching styles in this league, and although the power is always there.
Well, here's another guy with plenty of power. The veteran Tony Clark, switch hitter, and from the left side. Young can really run, so you got to keep an eye on him. He's not getting on base with much frequency. When he gets on, he's got 11 steals and 13 attempts. Ball 1. See, 3 of the 4 home runs for Clark, who's always been a better left-handed hitter. Of all the switch hitters in the history of baseball, Tony Clark has the 11th most home runs, 251 of them. Tony Clark, and now 7 straight pitches have missed the strike zone from Bronson Arroyo. A minute ago he had 14 strikes against 6 balls. Now it's 14 against 13. Finally a strike, and it's 3-1 to Clark. Young at first, 3-1 on Tony Clark, and there's ball 4. So consecutive 2-out walks keeps the inning alive for Miguel Montero.
You know, one of the things that we saw from Bronson Arroyo when he pitched in Toronto against the Blue Jays and got hammered in the first few innings that he was in the ball game, a lot of changeups. I mean, he really didn't attack the strike zone with fastballs, whether it was a 4-seamer or a 2-seamer. He didn't spin up a lot of breaking balls. It seemed like every time he had a chance to throw a changeup against a left-hander, he'd dial it up there and throw it, which is kind of unusual for him because it's not usually one of his pitches of choice.
There's a base hit into right field. They're going to wave around the runner. Here comes the throw from Jay Bruce. Good night, Irene. The 9th outfield assist this season from Jay Bruce. No slide. Long out.
Toyota.com. By JTM. Food, family, fun. JTM. And by Jeep. You talk, we listen. It's a new day. Have fun out there. Jeep.
Jay Bruce, his 9th outfield assist, cutting down Chris Young to end the top of the 2nd inning.
You can see why Chip Hale, the third base coach, is going to wave him around. I mean, he knows it's the long shot to do it. Jay Bruce has got a great arm. It's a hard hit ball. He gets to it. The only reason he does it is because you have Danny Herron, the pitcher, coming up next, and they figured at the worst, you know, you get a guy thrown out at the best. Maybe the ball takes a bad skip on the catcher, which it doesn't, and so definitive at home plate, not even a slide. You know, Tom, sometimes you just roll the dice and they come up snake eyes. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. That happens to me almost on a daily basis. And you see Jay Bruce now tied with Elijah Dukes from the Nationals for the most assists in Major League Baseball, not just the National League. Now, we told you Brandon Phillips touched up Herron for a home run when the Reds beat Dan back in mid-May. That was his 2nd career home run for Phillips against Dan Herron. Shows bunt there on a 2-1 pitch, and it misses inside, 3-1.
That looked like a little bit of a breaking ball that he hung on the inner part of the plate right there, and Brandon Phillips knew when he hit it, it was out of there. Took a little extra glance at it, but then hustled around the bases. A long, long home run.
3-2 to Brandon. Phillips leading off the Reds' 2nd inning in a scoreless game, and a jam shot roller to the right side, and Lopez is there, 1 away. Now Lance Nix. 259 batters, 7 home runs, and 21 runs batted in. Nix a quiet road trip, just 2 for 14. With the return of Joey Votto, the Reds swung the bats much better, as we showed you some of the numbers a little while ago, going 3-3 on the road trip overall, but averaged nearly 5 runs per game. Of course, that was slightly inflated by the finale in Cleveland on Sunday.
Well, they had 15 hits on that Sunday day game. They also had 13 hits the previous game. 2 or 3 days before that, they pounded out another 15 against the Blue Jays. So when Dusty Baker says that this ball club is swinging the bat better, I mean, he can see it over the course of more than just a couple of days. He had a lot to do with it. When Johnny Gomes was in the lineup, I mean, he was on base in every game he played.
2-1 to Lance Nix, and a breaking ball is fouled off out of play, even a count of 2-2.
Interesting note on Gomes: it was the first time the Reds have ever, in interleague play, used the same designated hitter for every one of their games. Usually it was a mix and match combination, you know, Griffey on one day, Dunn on the other. Johnny Gomes was the DH. Might be the only guy on that team who is really, sincerely, and truly disappointed that interleague play is over.
Yep. Payoff pitch coming to Lance Nix. He had a good hack there at a 92-mile-per-hour fastball, but fouls it back.
Boy, Herron just has that ability to just reach back and add a little bit extra. 92 on our radar gun, 94 on the ballpark gun. And you know what he does? I mean, he's so smart about the way he adds in velocity at the very end of his delivery. Doesn't give it up early on, doesn't try. So many pitchers, especially young pitchers, they try to throw harder, and they try to throw harder from the time they lift their leg up, and everything in their motion is harder. Herron waits to the very last second of his delivery, almost a flick of his finger is where he gets that extra pop.
Herron's still a young man. He's 28 years old. He won't be 29 till near the very end of this 2009 baseball season. 3-2 again to Nix. Throw him a breaking ball, and Lance able to foul it off.
You know, Dan Herron, if you watch his motion, has a little bit of a hesitation right there. Almost like we've seen so many Japanese pitchers come over from Asia and do that as well. But it gives him a chance to get into balance, to hesitate just momentarily, and kind of gather himself.
9 pitches now in this at bat, and Nix really making Herron work, but Dan continues to throw strike after strike.
Well, Reds will see another hesitation style pitcher on Thursday when they face Doug Davis, left-hander that has a little hesitation in his delivery. Kind of wish I tried that. Maybe I needed more help than that, huh?
3-2 on the way to Nix. I didn't say that. Grounded foul again.
The look he gave me.
Pitches so far in this at bat. Lance Nix against Dan Herron. Who's going to win this battle? Pitch number 11 coming up. And Herron lets it fly. Strike 3 called, and Nix knew it, a fastball in the inside corner.
Now, one of those front door fastballs looks like it's going to be a ball. It's a 2-seamer by Herron, and it just has enough hair on it to come back and catch the inside corner.
Well, when the Reds get it done with an RBI this season, that means another $25 from Shakely goes to the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done. Two down in the inning for Ramon Hernandez. He had a nice road trip. His batting average has really been dropping with all the playing time, of course, whether it be behind the plate or in Joey Votto's absence at first. The batting average dipped down into the 230s in Toronto. But overall on the trip, 5 hits and 17 at bats, so perhaps starting to snap out of it. Wicked breaking ball there, and it's 1-1.
it's been kind of a roller coaster ride, really, for Ramon Hernandez, Tom. First trying to get used to the pitching staff. Of course, he was away for most of the spring with the WBC. And you take a look at the May and June batting averages. In April, he was 246. That had a great month of May at 312, and there's the slumping off you talked about.
Well, he looked at back-to-back fastballs right down the middle of the plate. A 1-2-3 second after a perfect first for Herron. He's punched out 3, no score. Tonight's game, or the one out in right center field. Stephanie Lynn of Cincinnati will win that Tundra. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Good luck, Stephanie. Good crowd on hand for this Tuesday night at Great American Ballpark, downtown Cincinnati, in a scoreless game so far. Dan Herron to lead things off against Bronson Arroyo. Herron, a pretty good hitter. Has 8 hits and 33 at bats, and of his 8 hits, 3 of them are doubles. Arroyo rather routinely retired the first 5 batters of the game, and then could not find the strike zone. He walked Chris Young on 4 pitches, walked Tony Clark on 5 pitches, and has fallen behind 3-0 to Herron to begin the 3rd inning. There's a strike. And of course, after the 2 walks, if you weren't with us, Miguel Montero hit the first pitch into right field, and Jay Bruce cut down Chris Young trying to score at the plate. That'll be the 4th double of the year for Dan Herron. We talked about this guy's no easy out. Well, and he's standing at second base.
Bronson Arroyo has just put nothing at all on the fastball. He went 3-0, threw him a fastball by the radar gun clock, 83 miles an hour. The pitch on a 3-1 count is 82, right down Broadway. I mean, that is a batting practice pitch right there. You just wonder what the third base coach, Chip Hale's, thinking right now. Is just, man, if I had not sent that runner and let Herron hit, would he have still hit a double with the bases loaded, or with the runners on base? We'll never know.
That's 11 doubles in the last 2 years alone for Dan Herron. And now Felipe Lopez with a runner at second and nobody out in a scoreless game. Lopez bounced out to Brandon Phillips, leading off the game. First pitch breaking ball in there for strike 1. Arizona comes in 30 wins against 46 losses. Of course, they've already fired a manager this season. Right before the Reds got to Arizona, they let go Bob Melvin. this ground ball to Phillips will advance Herron on to third base, and there's one away in the inning. That's a good productive out by Felipe Lopez. A.J. Hinch named the skipper after Melvin was let go. And you see the Diamondbacks at 16 games under 500. And our standings in the National League West presented by Honda. Arizona has played in 23 one-run games. 17 of those since mid-May when A.J. Hinch took over. 17 of them. That's basically in about a month and a week and a half. And obviously they're coming up on the short end of most of those games. Their bullpen has just been lit up over the last month plus. Stephen Drew lifts it foul off to the third base side. A ball and a strike. That guy played that ball like Eric Davis. The Reds have the infield about halfway in, and that of course is because that is a pitcher running at third base. There's a breaking ball to get ahead of Drew at 1-2.
I doubt very much they're going to have a contact play right here with the pitcher at third base. Contact play means as soon as a ball is hit, you're on your way. As soon as you determine it's on the ground anyway.
1-2 on Stephen Drew. They try the fastball up, ground ball. Hairston's going to come to the plate, and they cut down the runner. What a play by Jerry Hairston Jr. Ranging to the glove side, the pirouette, and throws out Herron by a couple of steps.
Well, Danny Herron waits and then realizes that ball might be in the hole. That's why he ends up going right there and easy out at the plate once the tag is applied. But boy, what a play by Jerry Hairston. You've got to get up and you've got to get it to the catcher in a hurry.
So here in back-to-back innings, Arizona has a runner thrown out of the plate. Chris Young in the second, Herron here in the third, and now it's Justin Upton. Strike one. See a very high error total for Jerry Hairston Jr. in the 29 games. 7 errors, that's a lot of them.
And those are all at third base. And what we showed you were statistics of Jerry at third base. I know one of those, 2 of those errors came on one play. You know, it will be interesting, though, Tom, to find out, to see exactly what Dusty Baker does when they do get Edwin Encarnacion back off the DL.
Phillips, a sliding play, and his throw will pull Votto off the bag and go over by the Reds dugout, and both runners are going to advance. That'll be an infield hit, I'm sure, for Upton, and then a throwing error allowing the runners to advance a base.
Well, Brandon Phillips covers so much ground. Look how far he has to go just to get to that ball. Has to take an angle that'll take him out into right field, and he realizes that he better get it there in a hurry. And Justin Upton runs well enough that you can't take your time at all, and he just throws it right by Joey Votto.
Now Mark Reynolds, he leads Arizona in home runs with 21 and RBIs with 54, and there's a breaking ball in there, a strike.
Also leads it with strikeouts at 102. Made contact the first time and flew out of the right field on a curveball.
Reynolds played collegiately at the University of Virginia alongside Ryan Zimmerman. There's a swing and a miss, 0-2.
One of the better fastballs Arroyo has thrown in on the night.
Drew the runner at third, Upton at second base. 2 are out in the inning. Arroyo trying to pitch out of a leadoff double. 1-2, and a fastball is high to even a count of 2-2. You saw that strikeout leaderboard, and the one name that certainly stands out would be David Wright. I mean, Dunn and Soriano, Reynolds, they're always big strikeout guys. Not David Wright. At least until this year. That one dribbled foul behind the plate. David Wright is hitting 50 points higher than his career average. He's on pace to strike out over 170 times. And only 3 times in the history of baseball has a player hit 300 or better while striking out 159 times or more in a season.
Run that by me again.
159 or more strikeouts in a year, and having a 300 or better batting average in that same year.
I think he's trying a little harder because they're struggling so much on offense.
Maybe. Broken bat flare into left field, a hit. 1 run scores, and another run will score, and Arroyo gives up the broken bat 2-run single to Reynolds to make it 2-0 Diamondbacks.
He didn't get very much of it. In fact, he hit that fly ball to right field his first time up much better. Got jammed on that 2-seam fastball, but just strong enough. Mark Reynolds is, and he is strong, just to get it into the outfield. And of course, with 2 outs and speed on the base paths, the Diamondbacks will push across 2. Arroyo got ahead with a curveball and a fastball, missed with a couple of curves, and had to come right back in there with a fastball.
Now Parra, and a ground ball back up the middle into center field. 3-0 Arizona. So Bronson Arroyo had a runner at third with 1 out in the inning. He got the ground out to cut down the runner at the plate, had a runner standing at first base with 2 men out, and has allowed 3 consecutive hits leading to 3 runs.
Well, I guess in his defense, Tom, that last one by Parra is really the only one that was hit all that sharply. A jam shot by Reynolds, a ground ball that just happened to find a hole over and eluding Brandon Phillips, or at least Phillips couldn't come up with a good throw. Not like they're knocking the cover off the ball, but still, nonetheless, he can't quite seem to put him away when he gets ahead.
And I'll tell you one thing that I've noticed throughout this entire year, and not that it ever hurts him in any half inning, but I have such a hard time understanding why the Reds overplay so much defensively with Brandon Phillips. There goes a runner. Throw down to second base, and he was already standing there in the overplay, and they cut down the runner to end the inning. But a 3-run inning, 4 hits in air, and nobody left, and Arizona's given Herron a 3-0 lead. You know the answer to will come on down to Knockback Nats Friday at 6 for your chance to be a part of Reds Live and get your question answered on the air. Join the fun at Knockback Nats Friday at 6 o'clock. Now, where is Knockback Nats? I've never been over there. Does anybody have any idea where that is?
We looked it up on Sunday. I want to say it's on 7th Street.
Okay. All right.
West 7th.
They're not too far away from the ballpark. You can walk right on down from 7th Street.
Put Daddy Wags on it. We'll get an official address for you.
All right, we will. Well, the Reds now down at 3-0 to Dan Herron and the Diamondbacks. And, of course, Herron, as we mentioned, has the lowest ERA in the league. The Reds managed 3 runs against him to beat him back in May. They need that much just to tie him here tonight. 2-2 to Bruce.
Well, this is the splitter that we're talking about. You can kind of see it in his glove. And he comes right over the top just like a fastball. I think that was a splitter. Could have been the curve, but I believe that was a splitter.
Fastball, strike 3 called. That's 4 of them in the game for Dan Herron. Jay Bruce did not like the call by home plate umpire and crew chief Dana Demuth.
And 3 of the 4 have come looking, and that has always been an indication of a pitcher having exceptional stuff. When you have strikeouts when they're just looking up there, that means they're so fooled they can't swing the bat.
Now Paul Giannis with 1 out and nobody on. Reds still in search of their first base run of the night. We're in the bottom of the 3rd inning. We understand Knockback Nats is its 7th and 5, and it's the old Rockin' Robins.
Oh, okay.
There's a high fly ball into left field. An easy play for Parra near the line. 1 away. And now 2 gone in the inning after the fly ball by Giannis. We'll keep you up to date on what else is happening inside the National League Central Division. Milwaukee will face Johan Santana tonight and the slumping New York Mets. The St. Louis Cardinals were shut out by Tim Lincecum in the opening game of their series last night against the Giants. And the Cubbies are playing the Pirates. Boy, it has not been a fun number of games for the Chicago Cubs. They did pick up a win behind Rich Harden last night. But boy, an ugly weekend against the Chicago White Sox. And there are some that wonder if Lou Piniella is going to last the season as the manager, either by the club's doing or his own doing. 1, 2, 3 for a 3rd straight inning for Herron. We go to the 4th with the Diamondbacks in front, 3-0. for the Arizona Diamondbacks? Well, this one isn't fair asking me because I was there for every one of them. But we'll give you a chance to see if you know it. 3 of them are well-known names. One of them is not.
I got the little general.
Buck Showalter.
Yep.
Followed by he won a World Series, right? Bob Brenly. Now the third one is the one that most people are not going to get because he was only there after Bob Brenly was fired, which still to this day many of us out there wonder how in the world that happened. But after he was fired, this guy took over. The only time in the franchise's history they lost over 100 games. And then the next guy took over.
And he was relieved this year, right?
It all depends on how technical they're getting with this question. This could be a trick question. Because if you remember, the Diamondbacks for less than a week hired Wally Backman as their manager.
Okay.
So,
but he
I
never
don't know
really
if they're
managed
including that or not. No, he didn't manage a game, but that's not what the question, I don't think, technically is asking. Okay, we understand it is not Wally Backman. Okay.
We've not heard from Wally again, have we?
I'm trying to remember where I read that he is managing again. And his name surfaced for another managerial job, swinging a foul ball back out of play. Well, we know the Reds are trailing here 3-0 as we open the 4th inning. Arroyo giving up 3 straight 2-out hits, leading to 3 runs in the Arizona 3rd inning. 3-2 to Chris Young, who walked his first time up. Young to be followed in the inning by Tony Clark and Miguel Montero. 7 base runners through the first 3 innings against Arroyo, really in the last 2 innings, and there's another one. And for the second straight time, a guy hitting under 200 has drawn a walk from Bronson Arroyo. Well, the fan zone at Great American Ballpark is the place to be before Reds home games. You can enjoy the pregame AT&T Concert Series. Test your arm out at the Chiquita High Heat. Visit the Recreations Outlet Play Area and the Carpet Land Run It Out Track. Get your tickets now at 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Lots of great stuff for the youngsters here at Great American Ballpark. Tony Clark down a strike. To Clark after a leadoff walk to Chris Young here in the Arizona 4th inning.
And this has been the part of the batting order so far in this short ball game that has given Bronson Arroyo the most trouble. Everybody from Chris Young on has reached base. Chris Young on both of his at-bats. Clark, Montero, and Herron have all reached base in their first at-bat. Well, you know, when you're going through a scouting report, that's the last thing you think of, is that the last 4 guys, including the pitcher, are going to be your toughest outs.
Talked about Young. He can run. 11 of 13 in stolen base attempts. Was cut down at the plate trying to score from second base by Jay Bruce, ending the Arizona 2nd inning. 1-2 to Clark.
You know, Arroyo's done a good job this year, and the Reds overall, the catching corps has done a tremendous job shutting down the running game. Arroyo, 6 successful stolen bases. They've thrown out runners 4 times. And he's real quick, but you see when you have a runner like Young up there, this is a perfect time for Tony Clark to be looking fastball. Because the last thing Arroyo really wants to do is throw one of those real slow curveballs in there and give Young a real good chance of stealing second base.
Arroyo trying to imitate Dan Herron and get that fastball on the inside corner to a left-handed batter, but misses high. The 2-2 to Clark. Swing and a miss. And that's the first strikeout of the night for Bronson Arroyo.
Well, he finally did go with the breaking ball after 3 consecutive fastballs. Throws a little down and inside curveball, and good location there for Bronson Arroyo.
Now Miguel Montero singled to right field on the play in which Jay Bruce threw out Chris Young at the plate to end the inning. Montero going to get a chance to play every day with the recent disabling of Chris Snyder. And he shoots one into left field, a base hit. Montero is a guy who has just torn it up offensively in the minor leagues, but has not done it yet at the big league level. And he came point blank out in the newspapers during the last homestand and said, this is my chance. And for the first time, I've got to make the most of it.
Hey, Reds fans, for a great tasting quality meal for your family, pick up a bag of JTM beef or chicken Philly cheesesteaks from your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, fun.
Now Dan Herron, he led off the 3-run third with a double down the left field line. With one out, he's going to show bunt. Pulls the bat away for a strike.
Well, he's got 3 sacrifices on the year, but you know what's more impressive about Herron and his batting is the fact that he has been up now 34 times. He has struck out only 8. There are regular players on this Diamondback club that strike out with more frequency than he does.
That one bunted out in front of the plate, and Hernandez will look at third, throw to first. They get the out of Herron there, and they're 2 away in the inning. Of course, when Herron played at Pepperdine, he was as well known early in his career as a hitter as he was as a pitcher. That doesn't always mean by the time a guy gets to the big leagues, he's still going to be able to hit. But Herron, at least, is not an easy out. It's a big batter right here now for Arroyo and the Reds. It's one thing to try and come back against Herron down 3. Down 5's a whole different ball game. Strike 1 to Felipe Lopez. Lopez twice has bounced out to Brandon Phillips. He has Chris Young at third, Miguel Montero at second with 2 outs, 2 balls and a strike. Lopez signed as a free agent at the end of last year to fill the void at second, left by Orlando Hudson, who left as a free agent, signing with the Dodgers. Fouled off on a plate, even a count at 2-2. Felipe spent 2003, 04, 05, and part of 06 in a Reds uniform. And of course, in 05 was a National League All-Star. Going to be a tough play here. Hairston throws out Felipe Lopez to end the inning. 2 men left, middle of the 4th. Reds trailing the Diamondbacks 3-0. $24 million. Mercy. Jerry Hairston Jr. has made a couple of really nice plays early on in this game, including this one to end the top of the 4th inning.
Yeah, that was nearly a collision there between the third baseman and the shortstop. Came across very hard to cut in front of the shortstop, Paul Giannis, but makes the deal.
Look at all the positions.
Wow,
we'll get back to that in a minute. All the positions that Jerry Hairston Jr. has played as a Red. Catcher, first base, and of course pitcher, the only 3 exceptions. Well, it's really nice to have that kind of player on any team, and the Reds are lucky to have him.
You know, it'll be interesting, though, how Dusty Baker will use Jerry Hairston once Edwin Encarnacion comes back. I would imagine we'll see more starts at shortstop than anywhere else.
Well, the Reds are down 3-0 to Dan Herron, whose earned run average after 3 scoreless innings tonight is 2.19 per 9 innings pitched. And there's a lazy pop up down the right field line. Lopez in foul ground, 1 away. Well, we gave you a little while to think about our Aflac trivia question. Who were the first 4 managers in the history of the Arizona Diamondbacks, a franchise that began in 1998? And the name we thought you would not get, perhaps many of you did, is Al Pedrique. He is now running the entire minor league system of the Houston Astros. And really the amazing thing about that list is you take Pedrique's name out of the mix, and he was only there for half a season in 2004. But for a franchise that began in 1998, the other 3 managers on that list all took a team to the postseason. Every one of them.
That is amazing.
Showalter in '99, Brenly in 2001 when they won the whole thing. They repeated as division champions a year later in '02. And of course Bob Melvin, just a year and a half removed from taking Arizona to the National League Championship Series. Now the job belongs to A.J. Hinch. Had never coached, had never managed at any level, and came out of the front office when Josh Burns, their general manager, handpicked him to run the ship. And it certainly has been a move that has drawn a number of raised eyebrows around baseball, wondering what exactly is going on in Arizona.
Meaning, is the general manager exercising so much control that he now has a manager that he can control?
The general manager was given an 8-year contract 2 years ago.
That's a lifetime by most general manager contract standards.
You think? 1-2 to Hairston. And that is already 6 strikeouts for Dan Herron. He's got it working here tonight.
And he's got a fastball of 94 that he can throw on both sides of the plate. And that is a one nasty splitter right there. You know what I hope out of this, Tom? And you know, obviously we hope the Reds are able to finally figure out Dan Herron, or he makes a mistake. But I hope that Homer Bailey in the dugout is watching Dan Herron very closely, because he's, I mean, the delivery's not all the same, but it's close enough. And his style of pitching can be very, very much like Homer Bailey. This is where a young guy can sit and watch a game up front and close, and then go back and watch it again on video and say, you know what, that can be me.
You got to remember, when Dan Herron was the same age as Homer Bailey, he had not thrown a pitch in professional baseball yet. He was still playing collegiately at Pepperdine. Joey Votto, who looks at ball 4, and the Reds have a base runner. 2 outs into the 4th inning. Well, called third strikes are certainly nothing new for Dan Herron. In fact, only Giovanni Gallardo, outstanding right-hander for the Milwaukee Brewers, has more of those recorded this season.
But you look at the list, and if you rate these guys on stuff, this is a list of good stuff right here. Beckett, Lester, Halladay.
Oh, yeah. There's a strike to Brandon Phillips.
And those strikeouts that we showed you on that list do include the strikeouts, the 4 of them looking that Danny Herron has recorded tonight.
Well, you saw Josh Beckett. You mentioned his name. I'm not sure he's ever been on any kind of a roll like he is on right now. 0-2 to Brandon Phillips. To pitch. Started 2 and was able to check his swing. Of course, this is the first time all night long Dan Herron has had to pitch out of the stretch after retiring the first 11 batters in the night. And the inning is over. 7 strikeouts for Herron. We go to the 5th, where the Diamondbacks continue to lead it 3-0. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. And the 4th, 3 runs, 6 hits for Arizona. No runs, no hits. 1 base runner for the Reds. 2, 3, and 4 in the D-backs lineup. Drew, Upton, and Reynolds. And it's 1-1 to Stephen Drew, who's 0 for 2. Reached on a fielder's choice back in the 3rd and scored the first run. Lance Nix there to get the fly ball, 1 away. Take a look at our Firestone leaderboard, and how about highest slugging percentage on the road in Major League Baseball? No surprise, number 1. This man right here, number 2.
And very impressive. get a guy this young, this good, Tom, you just ask yourself, how good will he be? I mean, when he really figures it out. Or when they surround him with a little better players in the lineup.
Off the end of the battle, a breaking ball away from him and up to the second out of the inning. You know, the other thing you got to remember about Upton is just like his brother BJ when they were coming out of high school in Chesapeake, Virginia. Most of them were shortstops. So they're drafted as shortstops and are converted into outfielders. And I mean, that can't be easy to go through that as you're trying to figure it out to get to the big leagues as an 18-year-old. Now Mark Reynolds, he had a broken bat, 2-out, 2-run single to left field to get Arizona on the board back in the 3-run third. He's down a strike. Mets out to a 2-0 first inning lead behind Johan Santana in Milwaukee, and the Pirates are leading the Cubbies 2-0, and the Giants are batting in the first inning against Chris Carpenter and have jumped in front of the Cardinals 2-0. That's Randy Johnson against Chris Carpenter in St. Louis tonight. You and I were watching a little bit of the big unit his last start when he pitched a gem against Oakland that night. We were on the road in Toronto. And Johnson, after a very sluggish start his first year as a Giant, has had a real good month and a half.
And the Giants are making it real interesting in the National League West. A lot of people have already given the Western Division to the Los Angeles Dodgers, especially with Manny Ramirez set to rejoin that Dodger ball club. They're 7 games up on the Giants right now. Giants have played some pretty good baseball lately, 7-3 over the last 10.
And by this recent run of the Giants, we talked about it on the last road trip, Chris. I mean, right now, they are the leaders in the National League wild card, the San Francisco Giants.
7 games over 500.
2-2. That ball hammered into straightaway center field, and Taveras got all twisted around. And that'll be a 2-out double for Mark Reynolds.
Well, they say the line drive coming right at you is the hardest one to feel, and Willie Taveras shows us in video exactly why that's true.
Now the batter, Gerardo Parra, who bounced out to third in the second inning and knocked in a run with a 2-out single to center field in the third. Arizona already in front by a count of 3-0. Easier time of it this time for Taveras, and that is that. Reds come to bat, last of the fifth, still down 3-0. reservation today for the Front Gate Outdoor Luxury Suite. Certainly the most luxurious seating section at Great American Ballpark. Right behind home plate, this covered outdoor area can host your group of 30 to 48 for one all-inclusive price. Reserve your game date today. Calling group sales at 765-7600. Boy, that is a big league seat. Reds down 3-0 to Dan Herron. Reds still without a hit. Lance Nix had an 11-pitch at bat his first time up before looking at strike 3. For the first 4 innings, Dan Herron was 7 strikeouts. Broken bat roller. Goodness gracious. This is thorough domination through 4 1/3 innings so far. The Reds have had their problems against a number of pitchers so far this year. They have not hit a ball hard in the game tonight.
Now, what were you looking at, Tom, is a pitcher that on tonight has all 3 of his pitches working, maybe all 4 of them. The 4th pitch is a variation of the fastball and cutter, which he throws nearly as hard as his normal fastball. At the last second, it will cut into a left-handed hitter and away from a righty. That's what just ate up the thumbs of Lance Nix.
There's a first pitch breaking ball, and that's a strike to Ramon Hernandez. Two on Hernandez, and he chased that one and barely got a piece of it. Well, you look at the top 4 teams in the National League Central Division and the pitchers that they are having to face in their games tonight. Here the Reds are dealing with a guy that's got the best ERA in the league in Dan Herron. We talked about the Brewers having to face Johan Santana, the winningest pitcher in Major League Baseball over the last 7 years. The Cardinals are facing Randy Johnson. Now, granted, not the Randy Johnson of days gone by, but a guy who's won over 300 games in his Major League career. And even the Cubs, now obviously Russ Ohlendorf has not been around as nearly as long as some of the other guys, but he's having a mighty good year.
Yes, he is. So the whole division has a built-in excuse.
You are exactly right. Hernandez gone on strikes. That's the 8th time we've said that tonight about a Red.
8 of them now for Danny Herron. This one's a breaking ball right here. He just starts that curveball up and just kind of spins it away from him. You can't go up there looking for every one of his pitches. I thought what Mark Gray said to you in the pregame, Tom, was very interesting about how to go about hitting Danny Herron on tonight. If he's got 3 quality pitches and throws them all for strikes, you can't possibly negotiate all of them. So you eliminate some. And his idea was just sit fastball. And maybe you get it, maybe you don't. And we're looking back on a Reds at bat tonight, and if you take him to a full count and foul off a couple, that's a good at bat. I mean, the way he's throwing right now, not that he's gotten behind the hitter, but if you ever do get a 2-0 count, that's, I'm going to categorize that as a legitimate rally.
Herron wanted that pitch, but missed. 2-2 to Bruce, who struck out looking his first time up. There's a base hit into center field by Jay Bruce. Looked like a hanger, didn't it? Either a hanging split or a hanging breaking ball.
That's what it looked like. Some kind of a hanger up there. It was not a fastball, and Jay Bruce takes advantage of it and is able to get a solid base hit to center field. That's a good short swing right there. You could even see from that angle, the side angle, how he keeps his hands right inside there and he gets that bat head through. You look up and down the Reds lineup and you look at their batting average. You say, all right, who's the most likely guy to break up a little mini no-no? We're only in the 5th inning. You wouldn't pick the guy batting .214.
Should be the final out on the roller right to Aaron, and that is that. The Reds do get a hit, leave a man on base. We march on to the 6th. Still 3-0 Diamondbacks.
About Aaron's Aces ticket program. We're out here in the Moon Deck tonight. Got another ticket program going on. This is a very special one. It's the Los Amigos del Béisbol de los Rojos program. And it's a ticket program targeting Hispanic families and children in Cincinnati. Now, tonight's hosts are Alex Gonzalez and Ramon Hernandez. And we got 100 children and family members here from the Sucasa Hispanic Center of Cincinnati. And they got transportation to and from the game, a custom Reds cap, which you can see many of them wearing here, concession voucher, and in-game welcomes on the scoreboard in the PA system, not to mention a spot here on TV. So once again, we like to point out the good thing that the players do. This is a tremendous program, and these youngsters are having a good time. Are we having a good time? Nothing like a night at the ball yard, boys.
No doubt about it, Jimbo. It's great stuff, and we certainly appreciate the efforts of Alex Gonzalez, Ramon Hernandez, and all those folks over at Sucasa Hispanic Center of Cincinnati enjoying the ball game here tonight. Only fitting it would be the Arizona Diamondbacks in town. Of course, you go a little bit south of Tucson, and you get to the Mexican border. 2-2 to Chris Young, and that is strike 3 swinging. So after walking Young his first 2 times up, Arroyo takes care of it in his 3rd plate appearance.
2 of them now in the books are Bronson Arroyo, and he's got the curveball working on this one. Chris Young, you can see from the swing right there one reason why he is batting right below the Mendoza line. Just kind of pulling off that breaking ball big time. The lower body is there, but the upper body pulling off.
Now Tony Clark down a strike. It's a bonus strike. Tony, growing up, came out of high school and signed to play basketball at the University of Arizona. And then transferred over to San Diego State, where he played both basketball and baseball, giving up the basketball early on. Of course, the University of Arizona, now the home of former Xavier head coach Sean Miller. And we certainly wish him good luck out there. He will be very much missed here in Cincinnati. Did a great job. I mean, a great job. Took that program to even higher heights, and of course that's a high standard to begin with there at Xavier. But I mean, he's got a tough job ahead of him in Arizona. They've had a lot of players that left, but make no mistake, that is a big league basketball program. You to catch Reds baseball at half price this Saturday, the 4th of July at 1:10 for the eReach.com family game. When one family member buys a full price ticket, the entire family gets non-premium tickets at half price. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or go to Reds.com. Now, this offer is valid in advance of game day only, so pick them up. 4th of July, come down here during the day, and then get out to wherever it is you come in from for perhaps some fireworks that night. Well, that's great. We're having a day game.
Give you a chance to go home and test your culinary skills on the grill.
No question. Are your skills pretty good in that area?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Well, I mean, you say that like it's a given. I mean, you know, why do you look at me like that?
Well, surprised you'd ask that.
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, some guys, you know, are pretty good at it. Some other guys really don't like to do it, or maybe their wives really like to do it.
As long as you don't get too complicated, you know.
That ball driven into deep right center field off the bat of Miguel Montero, and it is long gone. And it is now 5-0 Arizona.
Ball nearly hit the tundra sign.
Well, we talked about Montero and some of the big-time numbers he put up in the minor leagues coming up through their system. And here over the last few days, since getting a chance to play regularly, he is knocking the tar off the baseball.
Well, on the evening, Bronson Arroyo has kind of skated around the 4 walks that he has given up. But this one, the long drive to Montero, will score the walk that he gave to Tony Clark, the previous hitter. That's a big fly right there. So is that.
Dan Herron into left center field, and that one is gone. And the crowd not happy. It is 6-0 Arizona, and it's been the bottom part of the order that has just hammered Bronson Arroyo here tonight. The number 6 hitter has 2 walks, a 7 hitter with a walk, 2 of them in fact. That's the first home run, by the way, in a career of Dan Herron. You have a number 8 hole hitter with 3 hits and a 2-run homer. And the pitcher's 2 for 2 with a double and a home run. So, you know, it's amazing to me how many people around here that follow the Reds have been quick to jump, you know, say even Micah Owings and some of his subpar outings. I mean, Bronson Arroyo's got 8 wins, but his ERA is knocking on the door at 6 after this outing tonight.
Yeah, you know, he's the kind of pitcher, Tom, that occasionally will have a couple of really, really bad games. But overall, really, in the month of June, he's been very inconsistent. He's had 3 outings in the month of June, not including today, that he has pitched only 5 innings or fewer. Only once has he taken the team into the 8th inning.
And he's coming out of the game right now. Danny Richard will come into play third with Jerry Hairston Jr. moving over to short. So Bronson Arroyo after getting hammered in Toronto. He's hit hard here tonight.
You know, and watching him very closely in Toronto, and then watching him again here tonight, and then, of course, reading and hearing and talking to him about his carpal tunnel syndrome, he just does not look right to me. I mean, he is not finishing his fastball. He's kind of guiding it up there. I've never seen him go through a stretch where he's thrown so many changeups. And this is not the Bronson Arroyo that we are used to seeing.
Three here in the sixth after getting 3 in the third. They chased Bronson Arroyo from the game. Dusty Baker makes a double switch. Danny Richard, of course, came up through the Arizona farm system, so he knows Chip Hale, who managed in their farm system. He's in the game at third. Jerry Hairston Jr. moves over to short. And taking over for Bronson Arroyo is the rookie right-hander Carlos Fisher.
Dusty Baker thinking ahead with a double switch right there, wanting to make sure that he doesn't get to the pitcher spot right away. Carlos Fisher, for a young guy in his first time around the major leagues, not a bad job at all. Came out early on, first few games, really threw the ball over the plate. He has struggled more recently with more bases on balls. You know, Tom, I've asked the question many times and talked off the air, talked to you about it, talked to the Cowboy and your dad. You know, I always have thought it was curious that the Reds have carried 13 pitchers, especially when they seem to be bench light so often. But as you get closer and closer to the trading deadline, if their strength is pitching, and if they expect to get a hitter in return, chances are they're giving up pitching. Maybe this is just a month-long showcase of some young pitchers that other scouts may say, hey, I really like this kid Fisher, or I like this guy Renicky. And you would never see him if he weren't in the big leagues.
That's a good point. Well, Walt Jocketty certainly was very upset about not being able to pull off the deal to get Mark DeRosa, and the Cardinals wound up getting it. Chris Perez, a hard-throwing right-handed reliever, 24-year-old, and a player to be named later.
Now, when you say upset, he thinks that what he offered the Cleveland Indians, in his estimation, was better, at least at this point, than what he had gotten from the St. Louis Cardinals.
One and 0 to count. And it's taken on the outside corner of strike.
Of course, what we don't know is the three players that the Cardinals have designated as a possibility to be included in that trade as a player to be named later. The Indians have all summer long to scout these three kids, and evidently the quality of that player was higher than what the Reds offered, at least in the eyes of the Indians.
One and 2 to Stephen Drew. Now, another team inside the National League Central was very busy today. The Pittsburgh Pirates pulling off a pair of trades. It's obviously not going to get the same kind of publicity that, you know, the St. Louis Cardinals acquiring Mark DeRosa will get. As Drew has gone on a high fastball at 95 miles per hour. Take a look at a couple of different deals. First with the New York Yankees. We'll get back to that here in a minute. And then the Pirates also pulled off a trade with the Washington Nationals. Eric Kinski to the Yanks for a couple of prospects. And then Sean Burnett and Nyjer Morgan to the Nationals for Joe Hanrahan and Lastings Millage.
Boy, I don't know about that one. I thought Nyjer Morgan is what I haven't followed him recently, but boy, he was having one heck of a year.
Speedy outfielder.
Good looking leadoff hitter.
Of course, Lastings Millage, a former #1 pick of the New York Mets, who has never lived up to the potential, although he is very, very young. And he is a very talented young player. 1-1 on Justin Upton. Pirates have lost their last 2. Two and 1 on Upton. But they are leading the Cubbies. That game is already in the top of the 7th inning. They started the same time we did. And the Pirates behind Ohlendorf, shutting out the Cubs so far 2-0. In fact, all the teams right with the Reds there in the top 4 spots in the division trail 2-0. The Cardinals, the Brewers, and the Cubs. Two and 2 on Justin Upton. Strike 3 called, and Upton knew it. So back-to-back strikeouts for Fisher to end the inning. Middle of the 6th after a 3-run 6th. It's 6-0 Arizona. Reds hitters have been frozen in their tracks by the stuff featured from right-hander Dan Herron so far tonight. 5 innings. Herron has struck out 8 batters, allowed just 1 hit. Danny Richard will lead it off, batting in the 9 hole. He'll be followed by Willie Taveras and then Jerry Hairston Jr. Reds down 6-0. And Herron has done it all tonight. Not only the 1-hit shutout, but he's also hit his first career home run. emergency swing there, but contact.
I just saw the best catch made by a young man with a Reds jersey on all night long. What a grab by a young man, looks like to be about 10 years old. Up right in front of the suites. Danny Ricard gave him a hot shot of a line drive, and he reached out and backhanded it. There he is.
Doesn't chase that splitter that time. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Richard.
You know, you're a bench player. You want to get in the ball game. You want to get a string of at-bats, get yourself feeling good. They tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, kid, grab a bat. You're going in there. You look up, and it's Danny Herron on the mound.
And he hits one in the air to right center field. Room out there for Upton, shy of the track. Didn't miss that by much.
Hanging right in there is Danny Richard. He gets a high breaking ball right there. Looked like a very similar pitch to what Jay Bruce knocked into center field for the first base hit and the only base hit the Reds have gathered so far.
Now Willie Taveras, who is grounded to short and fouled out to the second baseman Felipe Lopez. Ball 1. Into center field, right at Young, and that's a second out in the Reds' 6th inning.
Very democratic of him. Letting everybody share in the output outs.
You know, you look at a game like tonight, and I think it puts into perspective, at least through the front, nearly 6 innings. I mean, into real perspective about how unbelievably difficult it is for a pitcher to throw a no-hitter in a game. I mean, the stuff the Reds have seen tonight from Dan Herron is unquestionably the best stuff they have seen from any pitcher that they have seen this year. There's a base hit down the left field line by Hairston. And he has the second Reds hit of the night. Parra fumbling around out there in left, but finally recovers. But up until that swing right there, it was one hanging breaking ball that allowed Jay Bruce to get a base hit for their only hit.
And that was no hanger right there. That was actually a very good pitch that Jerry Harrison goes down to get down below the knees and rips it inside the third base bag.
Now Joey Votto with a runner at second. And 2 outs here in the 6th inning. He looks at ball 1. Votto walked his last time up after grounding out to the second baseman Lopez, ending the 1st inning. The season average at .349, but hitting with runners in scoring position, that baby jumps up almost 40 points for Votto.
You know, Tom, I'm going back and looking at the game logs the Reds have had this year just to try to follow up and see if there was another pitcher that may have had similar type stuff that Herron has had tonight. I mean, as far as being tough, Petey was very tough.
Yep.
That day game in San Diego. Although he normally doesn't go as deep into ball games as Danny Herron does, so he was tough while he was in there. Chris Carpenter, when he beat Aaron Harang 3-1 on the home run by Albert Pujols to hit off of Harang, that was an exceptional night by Carpenter, but not no-hit stuff. This guy tonight, you're right. From the first inning on, it looked like he did have no-hit stuff. And you wonder now, I mean, with Danny Herron, I mean, leading the league in earned run average, he's got a tremendous strikeout to walk ratio, like 112 strikeouts to 14 walks. I mean, how often do you say out of 5 starts does he take no-hit stuff to the mound? There's a lot of pitchers that pitch a long time in the major leagues who don't know what that's like.
His strikeout to walk ratio is right there where Johnson and Schilling were in their heyday when Arizona won the World Series. I mean, he didn't walk anybody. Of course, they had much bigger strikeout numbers in here, and I mean, his is almost a batter per inning. Those guys were better than that, but those are rare birds. I mean, guys that have great stuff that don't walk many people. 3-2 to Votto. On the ground, down to Clark, and that is that. The Reds get a double by Hairston, leave him there. We go to the 7th. Reds trail 6-0. Scoreless game in the 3rd with 2 men out. A broken bat 2-run single by Mark Reynolds put Arizona in front 2-0. Reynolds would score a batter later on a single to center field by Gerardo Parra. Meanwhile, Dan Herron, his 2.25 ERA coming into play tonight, has punched out 8. And then, of course, they gave him more run support. A 2-run home run by Miguel Montero in the 6th. Dan Herron, his first career home run, followed that one. All on Bronson Arroyo. It adds up to a 6-0 lead. We begin the 7th inning. Mark Reynolds, Parra, and Young against Carlos Fischer, who faced 2 batters in relief of Arroyo and struck them both out. Reynolds 2 of 3, that 2-run single in the 3rd, then doubled over the head of Willie Taveras in the 5th. And there's a tapper to the left side, fielded by Hairston deep in the hole at short. And his throw gets by Votto. After Richard couldn't make the play, they were going to have a difficult time throwing out Reynolds. Reynolds pretty good athlete.
I think it was probably Danny Richard that may have hurt Hairston making that play. I mean, we saw Jerry Hairston cut in front of the shortstop Paul Janisch a couple of times. But I think he's a little overly aggressive right there. You've got to check to your left and see where your shortstop's playing. And if he's sitting right there and you're heading straight to second base and not towards first base, if you've got to take that kind of an angle as a third baseman, that's not going to help you make a throw across the field to first base. If you're heading towards first base on an angle, that's a different story. Remember, Danny Richard played second base almost exclusively down there in Louisville. So when you put him at third base, you're taking a very big chance offensively.
Where some have speculated that the Reds would have Edwin Encarnacion back up here with a big league club sometime during this homestand.
Remember, Richard started one of the games in Toronto at third base. Had a couple of plays down there that he did not look good or comfortable at all in playing, and that was that. We've not seen him down there since.
Encarnacion has played 9 games so far down at AAA Louisville. Has 8 hits and 31 at bats. Couple of home runs, 7 batted in. He has walked 8 times. Played third base again last night in the Bats victory at Gwinnett. That's a AAA team for the Braves. Of course, he has not played for the Reds since going on the DL back on April the 28th with a chip fracture in his left wrist. 2-1 to Park. Arizona already leading 6-0 here in the 7th inning. And a 3-1 to Parra. Slow roller. They'll get the out at second, and that'll be all. Chris Young walked in the second, walked again in the fourth. Arroyo struck him out leading off the 6th. And it's ball 1 from Fisher with 1 on and 1 out. Milwaukee on the board against Johan Santana, but the Mets still lead 2-1 that game in the 4th inning. The Cubbies are losing 3-0 in the 8th in Pittsburgh. Randy Johnson still shutting out the Cardinals. That game in the bottom of the 4th inning at Busch Stadium with the Giants leading 2-0. Reds and the D-backs have a night game again tomorrow. Tickets are available. We invite you to come on down to the ballpark. Log on to Reds.com or call 381-REDS. Johnny Cueto starts it tomorrow night against right-hander John Garland. And then no television on Thursday. That'll be a radio-only game that starts at 12:35 in the afternoon. Aaron Harang against left-hander Doug Davis. And then, of course, the St. Louis Cardinals come to town starting on Friday night. And in case you haven't seen a schedule, a rare Saturday day game is on tap for the 4th of July. 7:10 on Friday night, and then 1:10 starts Saturday and Sunday. 3-2 to Young. Saturday, we understand, we will have a special telecast celebrating Independence Day with limited commercial inventory that day. That means more work for you, Chris.
Bring it on.
There is ball 4 to Chris Young.
Of course, this weekend, Tom, I'll be working with George Grant on television, and George will be.
You will? I thought I was working on it all weekend.
Are you?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought George was in for the weekend. You guys handle your own schedule. I'll be over here in this chair.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm here.
Okay. Well, I stand corrected, and maybe it is more work for me, because normally a game like that, George, being the play-by-play guy, willing to handle the load. Like working with a Clydesdale.
And with me, it's like working with a donkey.
Hee-haw.
That's the way it goes. So you better bring your A game. on Saturday afternoon. 2 on, 1 out for Tony Clark.
Tom, I don't think you touched on it tonight. Looking at the box score between the Louisville Bats and Gwinnett, the AAA franchise for the Braves, that's where the Bats are. Edwin Encarnacion not in the lineup tonight. And you just wonder if maybe he might be back in Louisville cleaning out his apartment. You know he's eligible and due to come up fairly soon. They thought he'd be up here sometime on this homestand.
2-0 to count on Clark. In the air, straight away center field. Taveras will have room at the track. And tagging up and advancing on to third is Parra. 2 away in the inning.
One more report from Louisville. I thought this is definitely worth passing on. The Justin Lair, who the Reds got back this year, has won his 6th consecutive decision last night since rejoining the Bats. Gave up 1 run on 7 innings. His record now is 11 wins against 2 losses. That is the best pitching record in all the minor league baseball. So if they're looking for arms help down there, maybe Justin Lair would be a guy that they might consider.
Well, again, you were just speculating on what you have witnessed since Bronson Arroyo was traded to the Reds from the Boston Red Sox. But it's certainly speculation based on a lot of facts and a lot of games that you've seen Bronson Arroyo pitch. You just wonder, I mean, is he okay? He's the one that talked to the media over the weekend about this carpal tunnel situation. And 2 to count on Miguel Montero with runners on the corner. And there's a swing and a miss to end the inning. 1 hit, 2 left. They stand and stretch at Great American Ballpark with the Reds trailing the Diamondbacks 6-0. Fans in attendance receive a Jay Bruce bobblehead courtesy of the U.S. Army. Now this bobblehead is his second in a collectible set of 4 that combine to form a special Great American Ballpark backdrop. For tickets, 381-REDS or go to reds.com, and there you have it, an early advance copy of the Jay Bruce bobblehead.
Now this one's really not bobbling very well because it's got a neck brace on.
fast.
But it looks pretty good.
You need a neck brace on.
Well, it has a little styrofoam neck brace. They come packed with this so that the neck doesn't break in transit. So we're not
That's a
bobbling
great
all that
idea.
much.
I've never seen that before. Is that a regular part of a bobblehead?
It's almost like one of those airline pillows that you buy. In fact, I'm thinking if I can collect enough bobbleheads, I won't have to buy another airline pillow. I can just put them all together.
Now, how would you rate the likeness to Jay Bruce?
Well, this particular bobblehead has been to the dentist to get some teeth whitening.
Yes.
So he's looking good there. He's got kind of a look like kind of a dazed and confused look on this particular bobblehead. But actually, I like the bobblehead a lot. In fact, this might be one of my more favorite bobbleheads. It's a good looking bobblehead. It really is. Sponsored by the U.S. Army. Can't get better than that.
No, it can't get any better than that. Especially on Independence Day.
Holding the bat back. I'll tell you what it does. It's very accurate in its depiction of having his the back arm up.
They should have had his hand flipped off the bat.
He puts the elbow up like that. He does that quite a bit.
There's a rocket off the bat of Lance Nix in the right field. That'll be the second two-base hit of the night for the Reds, their third hit overall. For more on Edwin Encarnacion, let's check in with Jim Day. Jimbo.
Tom, thank you very much. This was a topic of conversation before the game with manager Dusty Baker. He was asked, why is Edwin Encarnacion not in the lineup? And he was unaware at that time. Apparently, word from Louisville, he had played 9 straight days, and tonight simply a night off. So he don't look forward for him to be in Cincinnati anytime soon, although Dusty did say perhaps by the next road trip, which is next week.
All right, Jimbo, thank you very, very much. And that makes perfect sense. I mean, a guy plays 9 straight games, and he hasn't played any baseball at all for almost 2 full months. Makes perfect sense he would get a night off. As for the back half of that, with Dusty Baker saying maybe the next road trip, that still remains to be seen. 1-0 on Ramon Hernandez. And there's a soft liner in the center field. It'll get the Reds on the board and then go skating by Chris Young as it is misplayed. So the Reds get back-to-back doubles to get on the board. The 6-1 game.
Well, finally, Ramon Hernandez is able to put the ball in play. He has struck out his 2 previous times against Danny Herron. He gets a breaking ball right there that he really centers it. And that ball completely fooled the center fielder, Chris Young. I don't think Young thought that ball was hit nearly as hard as it actually was struck. So Hernandez with another double. 11 of them on the year.
Now, granted, you're down by 5 runs and you are in the 7th inning and you're still facing Dan Herron, who's now thrown 101 pitches. But it certainly bears repeating that Herron has left games at the end of 7 innings this year where he had a 5-run lead and a 6-run lead, and his bullpen could not hold either one of those leads. Well, somehow, some way, you find a way to get a couple of more here in this inning and get within striking distance. This Arizona bullpen has had a lot, and I mean a lot, of problems so far this season. Pitch, strike called on the outside corner. Johnny Gomes standing in the on-deck circle. That is the pitcher's spot due up next. Two and one to Jay Bruce. flare, shallow center field, and caught by Young for the second out of the inning. Talked about Gomes and what a fabulous run he had as primarily a designated hitter. He certainly was on the last road trip, obviously, through the American League, but over his last 17 games, a .367 batting with 4 home runs and 11 batted in. Swing and a miss.
Now you see why Johnny Gomes is safe for southpaws. A .417 hitter against left-handers this season. The Reds knew that when they signed him.
Of course, you know, the other side of that is there's not a heck of a lot wrong with .265 either. I mean, it's not .400. But his batting average at .265 is higher than every outfielder in the Reds lineup tonight. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong whether or not he started tonight's game or not, but I mean, let's be honest about it. Johnny Gomes never even sniffs single-A baseball if he can't hit a right-handed pitcher.
Absolutely true. But at the same time, if you're going to make space for Johnny Gomes in the outfield, where do you do it? You can sit down Lance Nix or you can sit down Chris Dickerson. But if you're facing a right-handed pitcher, why would you sit one of the left-handers? I mean, you want to take the weakest link out of there. At this point, you take out your center fielder and you move Lance Nix to center. Then you don't have a leadoff hitter. So it's one problem answered and then another one created every time you make a change like that.
Well, Herron cannot believe he did not get that call, and he is not happy about it at all. Very upset with the home plate umpire, Dana Demuth.
Well, he's been getting that call all night. I can't say that particular pitch, but on that side of the plate, mainly with left-handed hitters up there.
Swung on and missed, and that'll end the inning. Reds get a run on a couple of hits, but trail as we go to the 8th by 5.
We've got you under our wing. And by your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers.
Back at Great American Ballpark, it would appear the night is over for Dan Herron. Well, what a night it's been for the Arizona Ace. Came in with the best ERA in the entire National League. Does not allow a run until what could be his final inning of work. I mean, it's not a done deal yet. Although Herron is due to lead off the inning, and obviously he's not walking up to put a helmet on or grab a bat. So the Diamondbacks are going to go to their bullpen, going to go to their bench. In the meantime, the Reds go to their bullpen and bring on Jared Burton. Alex Romero will come up and bat for Herron, who allows 1 run on 4 hits in 7 stellar innings, strikes out 9 and walks only 1. Well, Dan Herron will now sit back, as he has done so many times already this year, and see if his bullpen can try and hold a lead, which obviously, when you have a 2.2 ERA, and it's lower than that after tonight, and yet you have 6 wins against 5 losses and 4 no decisions, that bullpen's having a hard time, and the numbers certainly bear it out.
It's gone pretty much as everybody who's watched this matchup would have predicted, Tom. The only hope was you'd think that maybe you get Herron on an off night, or maybe you could get him out of there an inning or 2 earlier so he doesn't take his ball club to the 8th inning. But as you've mentioned, sometimes that doesn't matter to the Diamondbacks bullpen. They get it done in a hurry, or undone in a hurry.
And as we remember, in that 2007 season, when the Reds had the worst statistical bullpen in Major League Baseball that year, there are very few things in the game, I'm not sure there is anything more deflating than having a bad bullpen. Because so many games you think you're going to win, and that old adage about, you know, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory as Burton retires Romero. Now, you look at this Arizona team, and again, we brought up earlier, they have played 23 one-run games. They played 17 of them in 5 weeks, and they are losing the majority of those games.
But yeah, but don't they say about 1-run games at the end of the year that they're kind of lucky if you win them? If you have an exceptional win-loss record in a 1-run game, that it's just a matter of luck, that you're playing well enough really to win, but you just happen to lose. Now, if you factor in a bad bullpen, that may be the key in that particular stat, because they've lost so many.
Well, I think it's one of the most overrated, really, stats in baseball is that 1-run game. Now, there are seasons where you can say, you know, because of the 1-run game and the ability, as you point out, of maybe your bullpen, you know, over the long haul of the year, yeah, you've earned it. But I mean, there really is no direct relationship that says if you're great in 1-run games, it means you're going to have a good year. We'll see if the Arizona bullpen is up to the task tonight. Felipe Lopez, a fly ball into right field. Bruce at the track for the second out of the inning. Getting loose in that bullpen is Clay Zavada. Now, he's one guy that's gotten it together. But ever since they brought him up from the minor leagues, I mean, he has not fallen into line with the rest of the bullpen that has struggled so frequently since they brought him all the way up from Double-A. This guy is just mowing people down. And they signed him out of an independent league. 1-1 is Stephen Drew.
Yeah, let's get back to Danny Herron for just a second. When he was traded from the Oakland A's to the Arizona Diamondbacks, it was a 8-player trade.
Yep.
He came over with Connor Robertson, another pitcher, for 6 players from Oakland. Now that he has reached, and he had already signed a 4-year deal with Oakland, was in the 2nd year of his contract when he got traded to the D-backs. Now that he has reached the pinnacle in which he is right now, he got 6 players before he even started pitching well. Now how many players would it take to get him off the hands of the Diamondbacks?
Well, they redid that contract. He signed now with a club option through 2013. That's why so many Diamondback fans were stunned when Herron comes over and the deal pitches 1 year, and in the middle of that year they give him a contract that runs basically for 5-6 years, depending if you pick up the option. They did not give that contract to Brandon Webb, who of course has been the best homegrown product pitcher in the short franchise history. He's won a Cy Young Award. But they didn't give Webb that deal. Now all of a sudden, with all the injury problems that Webb is going through, he may never throw another pitch for the Arizona Diamondbacks. His contract's up at the end of this season.
Kind of disappointed not to see Brandon. Was hoping he would travel with the club. Figured he would not be, but always nice to see him.
Well, Burton hurried down a little bit. Drew does run well, and he reaches safely. That'll be an error on Jared Burton.
Not an especially tough play for Burton, but one that he probably rushed because he did know that Stephen Drew can run. And even if you field that ball, where he fields it, he's got no throwing lane to first base. I'd be inclined to give him a base hit there.
Jared Burton, up until giving up 2 runs on Friday night in that 9-2 loss at Cleveland, started to put together a very, very solid run. I mean, the numbers are still excellent. You may remember now, Burton was sent out to Louisville on the first day of June when Edinson Volquez was activated off the disabled list. The team was in St. Louis when Volquez started that night. He was brought back the next day when Volquez returned to the disabled list, and in the 8 games since technically being sent down, his earned run average is more Jared Burton-like at 2.3. So you can say, well, I mean, did he really get a wake-up call because he really never pitched a game down in Louisville? But perhaps just the wake-up call that, hey, we're sending you to the minor leagues, forced his concentration to move up a couple of levels.
Yeah, I think that may be part of it. I think the other part is that they've got him a little more regular work.
Upton a base hit into left center field, and advancing first to third is Stephen Drew.
Too good of an 0-2 pitch right there to a very good hitter in Justin Upton. You had him ahead, and this is where you really want to expand the strike zone a little bit. That ball's out over the plate, yes, but a cutter away, but still up about thigh high.
Giants have scored 4 times in the 5th inning, and they are pounding Chris Carpenter. 11 hits. And it is a 6-1 lead for the Giants. Carpenter touched up for 11 hits and 6 earned runs. Meanwhile, Randy Johnson, 5 innings, 2 hits. The only run he's allowed was a home run to Albert Pujols, number 29. 0-2 on Mark Reynolds. Arizona leading here 6-1. Runners on the corners in the 8th inning with 2 men out. Milwaukee, meanwhile, scores 4 against Johan Santana in the bottom of the 4th inning. And they lead the Mets 5-2 with New York batting in the top of the 5th. Runner goes first to second, and there's strike 3 to Reynolds to end the inning. A hit, an error, 2 men left. Dimebag is stranded 10. And the Reds come to bat down by 4. To his left with a runner at third. The clean pick, the pirouette, and throws out Dan Herron at home. That was back in the 3rd inning, and it looked like Bronson Arroyo would pitch out of that jam. A leadoff double by Herron. But then he allowed 3 straight hits, leading to 3 runs, and the Reds are behind by 5 as they bat in the 8th inning against Tony Pena. Hard-throwing right-hander out of the Arizona bullpen that they had hoped would someday become their closer. He's still young enough to be that guy, but hasn't shown him he can do it quite yet. And it's 2-0, and that's a big reason why. Finding the strike zone.
Well, you think at first glance his control's not all that bad. Only 10 walks and 32 innings. A power arm, as you say, but they're still hitting close to 300 off of it. Two and one to Danny Richard, and there's ball
3. Richard's got to be very smart here in this at bat, as do all the Red batters. You're down by 5. And you have guys in this bullpen, as we've talked about, that have struggled. You need base runners. Not every Red has to swing at a 2-0 pitch or a 3-1 pitch.
Should you give him the hard take right here?
To the count on Danny Richard. And he draws a leadoff walk. Follow all the Reds action with MLB.com's At Bat 2009 on your iPhone and iPod Touch. Get real-time play-by-play audio broadcast. Visit Reds.com on your iPhone or iPod Touch to purchase. And don't miss any Reds baseball the entire year. Leadoff man aboard. We roll over to the top of the order, and Willie Taveras. Pena's first full year in the major leagues was just 2 years ago, and boy did he pitch well. An ERA just a little bit over 3 in 75 games. And in 85 innings that year, he only allowed 63 hits. But then last year, an earned run average of 4.3. And in 72 innings, he allowed 80 hits. He is 27 years old. One and one to Willie Taveras.
He's had back-to-back years of 75 and then 72 games. Even though his innings are just about the same number, he's a one-inning pitcher. That's a lot of riding.
Of course, in 07, they were riding him hard along with their closer, Jose Valverde.
Yep.
Valverde racking up nearly 50 saves that year when Arizona played for a trip to the World Series, losing in the LCS to division rival Colorado. Final, the Pirates have shut out the Cubs 3-0. Reds have activity in their bullpen. Rookie right-hander Josh Renicky cranks it up. Fisher an inning and 2/3 of one-hit shutout baseball. Jared Burton so far an inning of one-hit shutout baseball. Can the Reds get back in this thing against the Arizona bullpen? High tapper. This could be an infield hit. It is an infield hit. So all of a sudden a walk and a ball hammered off the plate for an infield hit, and the Reds have something cooking.
Boy, if you can practice and figure out a way to do this 4 out of 10 times at the plate, be a piece of cake for Willie Taveras, huh? He hit it hard, but it went straight down.
Mel Stottlemyre Jr. is the pitching coach for Arizona. When Bob Melvin was let go, so too was the hitting coach, Rick Shue, and the pitching coach resigned, the very highly respected Brian Price. And yes, that is Mel Stottlemyre Sr.'s son, former outstanding major league pitcher, longtime pitching coach for the Yankees, and his older brother Todd Stottlemyre, who had an excellent major league career himself, which ended in Arizona. And Todd has made his home in the Phoenix area since retiring as a player. Left-hander Scott Schoenweiss, former Red, gets loose in the bullpen. Of course, he has had a tragic season this year with his wife found dead in their Phoenix home by one of their daughters a couple of months ago. Very sad, sad story. Still a lot of questions surrounding that death even now. One and one to Jerry Hairston Jr. One and two. Popped up in the short right field, and Upton will get there for the first out of the inning. We'll see if A.J. Hinch now brings on the left-hander Schoenweiss to face Votto. Talking things over down there with Kirk Gibson. Now you run the danger here if you bring him in now and somehow this inning continues. You got a right-hander next.
Well, that's exactly what Dusty Baker plans for when he makes out his lineup. And some people don't care about it. You've talked about Bobby Cox not caring about whether he runs 4 or 5 lefties in a row. But Dusty Baker has a lefty-righty combination up and down the order as much as he can. And for this reason exactly.
Well, Pena will leave. After a walk and an infield hit, he gets an out. And Scott Schoenweiss comes on to face Joey Votto. We'll be back. Chris Rose and Carissa Thompson. Weeknights only on Fox Sports Ohio, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Well, back from the bereavement list after the passing of his wife. An unexpected death, so young, and again so many questions are still out there. They're looking for the answers too, but Scott Schoenweiss is back again and pitching in the major leagues.
Well, he's always been a very dependable left-handed pitcher. Did a nice job when he was with the Reds.
On to face Joey Votto, and that one's lined into right field. A base hit. They're going to hold the runner at third, and the Reds have the bases loaded with one out and their leading RBI man, and Brandon Phillips coming up. Now Arizona has a right-hander in their bullpen, Big John Roush cranking it up.
Well, you just have to love that Joey Votto's approach when he faces a relief pitcher, a lefty coming in, and he doesn't wait around to see what that guy's got. He doesn't want to time his fastball and then take a look at what he's got and try to work the count. He's up there ready to hit the first fastball he sees. And Schoenweiss is coming right in there with that first pitch heater. He says, I'm going to show you this one first, and I'm going to go with my breaking ball. But he never gets to that spot because Votto lays out a line drive into right field.
One batter, one hit allowed by Schoenweiss. Back to the mound goes A.J. Hinch. Still no signal given yet. Now he does. It will be Roush to face Brandon Phillips. Reds with a chance to get right back in this thing. Bases loaded, one out, down by 5. Six-1 here in the 8th inning with one out. And they've got some thunder coming up. Brandon Phillips makes his way to the plate. And now on to pitch for Arizona out of their bullpen. From just down the road in the Commonwealth of Kentucky is Big John Roush.
Yeah, born in Louisville. Product of Morehead State is 6'11", 291-pound right-handed thrower John Roush. And he's a guy that can get wild from time to time. 14 bases on balls in 35 innings, but he's got a strikeout pitch and a tough situation to come in on.
Brandon Phillips in 6 at-bats this season with the bases loaded has 3 hits. Does not have a grand slam. But the Reds are down 5. I'm not sure Phillips was ready to hit. I mean, Roush was ready to pitch. And after asking for a brief timeout, it didn't look like he was ready to swing the bat. See the very handsome tattoo work on the neck of John Roush. Here's the 0-1 delivery. Check swing, and he went around 0-2.
That's fairly new. I don't think he had that when he was a member of the Washington Nationals.
They have at least 4 players on his Diamondback team, I've noticed, from warming up, that have tattoos on their neck. Delivery. It looks like a pair of wedding bands here, doesn't it?
I'm not sure what it is.
That's what it looks like to me.
Given the fact that he's 6'11" and nearly 300 pounds, I'm not going to comment on it.
Not a chance. He's a big man. One and 2 to count on John Roush against Brandon Phillips. Whoa, fastball. Yowza is right.
Now Brandon looking on the outer part of the plate right there, and Roush surprises him right there just off the corner. You can see Montero trying to frame it. Get that call.
2-2 to count with the bases loaded. Rouse brought over last year when the Diamondbacks were trying to hold their lead and hold off the Dodgers in the National League West. Brought him in to try and shore up that bullpen. 2-2 to count. Fastball is away for ball 3.
Well, he has been right around the plate, Roush has, and not missed by much. Good job by Brandon Phillips.
Well, now the crowd hoping for something to get excited about. Off the end of the bat, straight away center field, plenty of room for Young. This will bring in a run, making it a 6-2 game. Scoring is Richard. On to third goes Taveras. Staying at first, Votto. A 6-2 game with Lance Nix coming up.
Well, at the very least, that's what you wanted out of Brandon Phillips. He thought he may have hit that ball a little better than it actually did. It died as it went out there in the dead center field. But pick up at least one with that swing of the bat and hope that Lance Nix can lay out a line drive and maybe drive in one more and keep the inning alive.
Nix is struck out, grounded to first, and then double to right. Scored the first Reds run an inning ago. Well, he had a pitch to hit right there and just missed it.
I'm not so sure how you explain these particular splits, but against left-handers, John Roush is nearly unhittable. Against righties, he's mortal.
0-1. Fastball right by him there to get ahead 0-2.
Yeah, those splits are exactly the opposite of what you would expect from a right-handed pitcher like John Roush. Out of river right there.
0-2 to Nix. Came with another fastball and he pops it up. In the short right field, Upton will call off Lopez and that'll end the inning. Reds get a run, but we're hoping for more than that. They trail by 4 as we go to the 9th. This week, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Fox. Of course, the last 2 years, that Philadelphia Phillies team has stormed back to leapfrog the New York Mets and win back-to-back National League Eastern Division championships. That Mets team, perhaps the most injured club in the entire National League, and they are fading quickly.
Or the lineup that they're running out there, I mean, with all the injuries that they have and the most recent news that they have gotten on Carlos Beltran, that his knees may be much more severely injured than they had first thought, have them right in the middle of the trade market too, looking for help. So if you're a team like the Reds, where you think you need a little help or you're trying to get out there and maybe get a deal done, now all of a sudden you have a heavyweight like the Mets weighing in. It's a tough thing to be. Josh Reddick, game number 4.
But man, has he been good so far. Now, our radar gun tonight is vastly different than the radar gun that is showing up out in left center field. There's no way that first pitch from Josh Reddick, nor that one, was 87 miles an hour.
Try to explain it. And I'm not so sure that this is the correct explanation, but from what I understand, Tom, over the years there are essentially 2 types of radar guns. Don't ask me to name the brands, but one measures the speed of the ball coming out of the hand of the pitcher. The other one measures the ball as it comes to home plate. And there's a major drop-off in speed from the time it leaves the pitcher's hand until it gets to the plate, usually 6 or 7 miles an hour. So it can be 94 coming out of your hand, and then, 87 when it gets to the plate. We're reading at 87. The radar gun here is reading at 94.
Okay, but I think it would be then based on that, which is a great explanation, but tell me if you agree. The latter is a better gauge of how fast the pitch is actually being seen by the batter. But the former, meaning the radar gun when it's leaving the hand, is the one that is the gold standard by and large when you're talking about how hard a guy throws as a major league pitcher, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
And, so when you turn your report in or when you're watching a game on television, it's always nice to know which one you're watching. So back in my heyday when I was dealing it up there at 83 was obviously the fast gun.
No, that's when they started that one, that where it got to home plate. You were really throwing about 94, 95 gas.
Actually, it was really about 77.
There's a rocket right to the shortstop, Hairston, 2 away.
He's got a great arm. There's no question about that. And he'll just get better and better with the more experience he gets at the major league level. It's kind of funny because, you have Carlos Fisher and Josh Reddick, who are very similar pitchers. They're both 2-pitch pitchers. Neither of them really use much in the way of their changeup. They're less likely to use a changeup here than they would be down in the minor leagues. Of course, Reddick was used primarily as a closer down there for Louisville. You don't want to go in there as a closer and blow a game on your 3rd best pitch. So he really hasn't developed that 3rd. And as a reliever, sometimes you don't need one.
2-0 to Tony Clark. Tony 0 for 2 has walked twice and scored a run.
See him driving that index finger, the fingernail, that index finger into the seam right there, preparing perhaps to throw that little knuckle curve. And there it is. Actually, more appropriately called a spiked curveball. There's the grip. You see his index finger right there, kind of dug into the seam. That's only to just try to get the index finger out of the way.
On the inside corner, a strike. I remember a guy who's pitching in big leagues through that knuckle curve a long time ago. Dan Schatzeder, I think his name was.
Yeah, you know, I played with Dan.
Really?
And there's a different kind of a knuckle curve. This is actually a spiked curveball. Knuckle curve is when you actually use both fingers to throw the curveball and spin it up there. I'll show you sometime. Maybe when we tape some of those tech talks with you, huh?
I'm looking forward to it. Raking. Reds bat, bottom of the ninth, down 4. And they'll try and put one together against the Arizona closer, although this is not a save situation. But when you have a 5-game losing streak, as the Diamondbacks are on, you have any kind of lead going to the 9th inning, and you're going to bring on the guy that's your best pitcher down there, and that's Chad Qualls.
Well, he's got 13 saves and 16 opportunities. And he throws strikes, as you can see. In 29 innings, he has walked but 4 batters, and he has struck out 27.
Ramon Hernandez to be followed by Jay Bruce, and then will be a pinch hitter for Josh Renicky. Strike 1 to Hernandez, 1 for 3, and a run scoring double to get the Reds on the board back in the 7th inning. Of course, the Reds have seen plenty of Chad Qualls through the years, primarily as a member of the Houston Astros bullpen. Of course, he pitched for them when they played in back-to-back league championship series against St. Louis. And then in that 2005 World Series for the Astros in a loss to the White Sox.
Well, he has always pitched very well against the Reds. In fact, he's pitched more games and more innings against the Reds than any other major league team. 30 games. Overall, the Reds are hitting .214 off of him, and he's averaging about a strikeout an inning.
And of course, as you look at this current Reds team, there aren't many of those guys that are still around from all those years that Qualls was with the Houston Astros. Taveras wasn't here, Hairston wasn't here, Votto wasn't here, Phillips maybe for a year in the overlap. Not Nix, not Hernandez, not Bruce. So let's see if this current group can have a little bit better luck. Broken bat roller. Drew for the first out. Cubs have lost. The Brewers are winning in the 7th inning 5-2 over the Mets. And the Giants are leading St. Louis 6-3 in the 7th inning. So Milwaukee with a chance to gain ground on the 3 teams directly behind them if they can hang on to that 3-run lead. Jay Bruce, a 2-hopper to Clark, and just like that, the Reds are down to their final out of the night. Dickerson will come up to bat for Renicky, who works a perfect inning out of the Reds bullpen. You know, when you're having a year where you're 16 games under 500, there are very few areas you can hang your hat on and say, at least we're doing this well. One thing the Diamondbacks have done very well this season is a category of their starting pitching. And that's without Brandon Webb, their ace. Herron has been lights out. Doug Davis, who will start the 3rd game of this series, has an ERA at 3.2 on the year, and yet he's lost 8 games.
Always pitches well against the Reds.
Yeah, the hard-throwing rookie right-hander Max Scherzer. The Reds are going to miss him. He's 5-5 with an ERA at 3.6. That's Davis on the left and Scherzer on the right. #1 pick out of the University of Missouri. So, I mean, you know, there are series where if you catch the wrong guys on the wrong night, starting pitching often can dictate if you win or lose a game. You catch Herron on a good night, and most of them are. You catch Davis or Scherzer in a 3-game series. Those guys aren't easy to hit and easy to beat. And there's strike 3, and this game is over. Arizona a convincing 6-2 win in the opener behind Dan Herron. The Reds slip to 1 game under 500 on the year, and the Diamondbacks end their 5-game losing streak. We're back with more in a moment.